like Donkey Kong. Except I don't know if it's just my mic or everyone, because it's not, desktop audio is not saying anything. Well, that could be because you guys aren't saying anything. New Zealand streaming.
It's all part of a plot. We're trying to make you think that your stuff isn't working.
This echo, the echo on this video killed me.
Now.
What video? Couldn't watch. Oh, is that what Freebear's saying? I keep thinking Freebear's a chick, but it's not, is it? It's a dude.
Yeah, I gotta change my mic setting here.
Yeah, I'm getting you guys, and it looks like, yeah, okay, cool. Do you want me to put the do you want me to put the live stream?
Here, I'm gonna find a different video. Hold on. How the F are we going to get along? Politicon 2018. There we go.
Oh, that one? Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, that's a good one.
Here, I just posted.
Yeah, well, I'm going to keep it playing this time, and then just, like, if you put other memes up, we'll just, the audio...
Hello, Politicon. How are we feeling today?
Yeah.
All
there,
right, so
I posted, it's called, How the F are we going
to
get along?
To have a panel discussion
this is,
on how the F are we going to get along in this country.
Michael
and
Knowles
starting here at Politicon.
So
we've got a great roster of panelists today. I want you to give a big Politicon welcome to all of our panelists. Let's bring them
Kyle?
up.
Oh, he's a douche. I'll tell you the thing I don't like about this one is, am I like really, really loud?
Sir?
I got the audience packed. Stop it. You're going to make me blush.
Like, it doesn't show you streaming. I had to, like, search for your channel.
Thank you, sir. I'm gonna go over here.
Thanks, buddy. Oh, I didn't need to yell that.
All right, so some quick introductions here. First of all, to my far right, we have Kyle Kulinski. He is the co-founder. He brought a few friends. Kyle's the co-founder of Justice Democrats and host of Secular Talk on the Young Turks Network. To his left, we have Bakari Sellers, who is a former state representative in South Carolina, now a CNN contributor. To his left, we have the roaming millennial, AKA Lauren Chen, and she is the host of Roaming Millennial Uncensored on YouTube. And then to my left, we have Michael Knowles, host of the Michael Knowles Show on the Daily Wire. And to his left, we have Charlie Kirk, founder of Turning Point USA. So just to frame this discussion for a second here, we obviously live in very polarized times today. Our political rhetoric is as divisive as it's been probably in our lifetimes. And just to put a finer point on the level of polarization today, studies have shown that the levels of partisanship, partisan polarization in Congress are at the widest they've been since the end of Reconstruction. And you only have to look to the headlines in this country to see just how divided this country is. And I think, in my view, that partisanship has really metastasized into tribalism today. So I hope with the panel we can talk about, how we do bridge the political divide in a media environment where it's very difficult to do it. And I think all of our panelists here are on the cutting edge of new media. And so it's really going to be on the folks here to figure out how we can create a more constructive political dialogue. And so I actually want to start with Bakari, because you have transitioned from a governance role, having served in the state legislature of South Carolina. You were the nominee for lieutenant governor in, was it 2014? 2014. And so you are in the business of trying to form legislation and work with both Democrats and Republicans in the legislature. And then you transitioned to a commentating role at CNN and a number of other platforms. So tell us more about that transition, that process, and the change in incentives that you found in terms of the type of political dialogue that would get attention and that would work.
Well, first, thank you for the question. Thank you all for being here. I was very young when I ran for office, and so I know we have
Yeah.
some people in here on the
Oh,
left
this
and
guy,
the
I
far
hate
left.
this
I know
guy.
we have some people in here on the right and the far
I
right.
hate everyone except
but I
for
firmly
one guy.
believe that we're not the generation of
And that's,
tomorrow, we're the generation of now. And so I encourage everyone
What's-
here, when I was 21 years old, I announced my race for office. I ran against somebody who was 82 years old and had been in office for 26 years. And on June 13, 2006, I became the youngest black elected official in the United States and the youngest state legislator. But the reason that I was able to do that is because regardless of how someone looked, regardless of where someone came from or their zip code, I always gave people the benefit of their humanity. And I think if we start there, if we meet people where they are, then we can find initiatives that all of us can agree on. To have Charlie to my left and to have my good friend from the Young Turks to my right, I can honestly say that if we were to put forth an idea like making sure that we take redistricting, which is the reason that we're so polarized today, out of the hands of elected officials and made them independent commissions statewide, then I can actually get these two to agree on that and push it in state legislatures around the country. But it takes those type of bold steps. It takes people not getting caught up in petty differences. And it also takes people understanding the practical reality of where we are in this country. I tell people we've made a lot of progress, but we still have yet a ways to go.
Yeah. Well, just to pick up on that issue of gerrymandering and the importance of our generation, a lot of
I
people
just can't
don't
wait for
realize
Michael
this,
Knowles
but in the
to start
state
talking.
of Ohio this year,
It's hilarious.
I run a nonpartisan organization called the Millennial Action Project. We work with young elected officials across the aisle. And it was the young lawmakers in Ohio who
Especially
pushed
if you're
a
gonna call it
bipartisan plan
nonpartisan.
to put in place redistricting reform in Ohio to get rid of partisan gerrymandering, and it passed with wide bipartisan support. The voters approved it with 75% of the vote, and I think that just underscores the opportunity our generation has to transcend some of the old divides that have been holding our country back. And since you called out Charlie, I want to move over to Charlie here. You've been working on college campuses across the country. What's the sense that you're picking up from college students today in terms of the
Michael Knowles is next.
type of rhetoric that they're looking for?
Hey, can you turn it up more?
When I go to college campuses, for example, I hear so many young people who say, I'm so tired of the partisanship. I'm so tired of all the gridlock. And I'm curious if you hear a similar thing and how folks in Turning Point are responding to that.
I agree with that. I think the good news politically about our generation is I think we agree generally on the problems. We have a lot of different perspectives on how we would go about solving them. The broad-based consensus amongst college students and millennials is that we have a government that does not represent our generation, that is run by trial lawyers, lobbyists, well-connected people around a 90-mile proximity of Washington, D.C. Our argument as conservative libertarians is, well, if that government has been bought and is corrupt, why on earth would you want to make that government bigger, stronger, and send more of your money to that very same government? And that's obviously where my progressive friends would disagree. So the broad-based question here over the last 30 to 40 years is why has the wealth, power, money, and influence concentrated around our nation's capital? What do they create? Well, they create nothing. They create access to power. I mean, the wealthiest counties in America used to be around Detroit, Michigan, and Chicago, Illinois, and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Now, 8 out of the 10 wealthiest counties in America are around Washington, D.C., where you're literally rewarded how close you are to the power center. And for us to get away from that, I think there are some solutions that I would actually tend to agree with, whether it be fair maps, so on and so forth. But I think our generation is looking for a series of policies and ideas that will, I think, address in a, not necessarily, I hate that term bipartisan because it almost lends itself to that both Republicans and Democrats are the answer. I would say, in some way, it's bigger than partisan issues in some ways. And if you follow what I say closely, I think that until the Republican Party
Michael Knowles is just waiting patiently to blow up the room.
Such as George W. Bush was a big spending liberal that betrayed all of our
principles
time and time again. We're not going to be able to actually appropriate, solutions that will increase freedom and shrink government and put the same government that's bought by these corrupt lobbyists and insiders back to the people.
Yeah, that's a great point. And Charlie, I want to now go over to Kyle here because you made the point about this widening gap between Washington, D.C. and the rest of the country, not only in terms of power, but also in terms of now income. And I've heard this divide in America reframed particularly after the 2016 election, it's not so much between left versus right. It's really kind of the haves and the have-nots. I know this is an issue that you've talked about. What can we do to bridge that sort of divide?
Well, I want to just take a step back real quick and say I actually, surprisingly, agree with a lot of what Charlie Kirk said. And he made a point to bring up, the size of government and how perhaps we have some large disagreements on that. Well, I actually want to reach out and say maybe there are many areas where we totally agree on the size of government. So when it comes to, for example, warrantless NSA spying, if you tell me, hey man, listen, I hate big government, I don't want it intervening in my life in that realm, well, I say, you're goddamn right, and let's work together to try to get rid of warrantless NSA spying.
FISA courts, I agree with you.
Good. So I'm happy to hear that. And there's other
Pants
areas
go
too,
away.
like, the drug war, for example. That's giant government, and it ruins people's lives when they throw them in prison for smoking weed or something like that. And I would even go as far as to say, there's a lot of agreement between what I would call the populist left and the libertarian right. So, Paul, for example, he's relatively consistent in an anti.
Go away. What the fuck is he doing?
There, he's muted now. No? You fix it? Did you fix it? Shut up, German Hillary, before I slap you. Before I slap your Canadian girlfriend. My Reese's are peeking out. Oh, they're not too bad now, actually. They drop in again. What's up, man? There we go.
My voice coming through?
Yeah, your voice is coming
Something's wrong with my headphones. Like when I go through my headphones, I can barely hear now. Like it used to be like real loud and everything. Now I can't barely hear it.
Oh my god! I wish you were better at computer.
Who, me?
It's not. No, it's the equipment I have. It's like it's actually Discord. Like Discord is like really. This Discord app is really weird.
My hardware's like crap because I didn't bother spending enough money on it when I got it.
Go to volume mixer.
Who?
Pants.
No, it's not that. I've got the volume up at max. I have two independent volume controls, and both are at max.
You need to fix them.
No, they're both at max already. It's something with something happened to the headset.
Who's Chuck McGraw? That's you. Who's Titan 111?
Oh, that's a dust breather. Okay. Yep. Hey, Pants, you need to do something about your echo.
Yeah.
Turn off your Bluetooth speaker.
I can't because then I can't hear you. Otherwise, I just have to get out of the voice chat because I can't. That's the problem. I was trying to put you through the.
Push to talk. Push to talk.
Oh man, I hate push to talk. Push to talk sucks.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put a window thing on this. Just a second. Window capture.
Michael Knowles is about to start talking, man.
I don't want my desktop. Hang on a sec. Hang on 2 seconds. Which one was it again? No.
What do you push to talk? Like when you select push to talk, what is that? What do you?
No, that won't work. Damn it.
What do you have to push?
You have a button on your keyboard. You have to hold it down.
Well, which one? That's what I'm saying.
I usually make cap locks. You can put any key.
So
I put mine at cap lock.
I'm going to make this stream a bit more interesting while you guys talk by putting some programs up that are monitoring my machine for no reason. So that's one of my monitors. Except I don't want the cursor there. Hang on, get rid of that. Capture cursor. So you can see what temperature my computer's running at, which is.
What the hell is a GeForce GT 220?
It's a really, really, really old graphics processor.
Am I talking?
I used to have the GeForce 2.
Sergeant, freshly banned Sergeant.
Hey, you're on a live stream.
I'm here.
Actually, do you?
I am here.
If you don't want to be on a live stream, then we can all go to live stream hub, and then whoever. I'm moving on to live stream hub. If anyone wants to be on it, they can go there.
Ouch.
Yeah, let's go move there.
Who's talking? Who's talking? It hurts.
There we go.
All right, play the video.
Anti-war stance, and of course, if you're pro-war, you are pro-big government by definition, because
There we go.
right. So if you're anti-war, I'm anti-war too, and we can agree on that. That'd be wonderful.
I think war's a horrible thing. Yes.
Okay, so now we just both ruined our careers because we agreed on something.
Well, we both have principles, so that's and we
Okay, I'm
both
glad to
parties.
hear that, man. The only point where I disagree is I don't think George W. Bush was a liberal. I think he was a warmonger and a neoconservative, and one of the worst presidents the country's ever seen.
Okay, but let me add context to it. Medicare Part D, borrowing $8 trillion.
That was private.
No
though.
child left behind.
But
Let's not digress on George W. Bush.
We were having this wonderful kumbaya moment, so I hate to ruin it by talking about George W. Bush's big government tendencies. But he did grow the size of government tremendously. He created a new government agency, the Department of Homeland Security, of which you'd put more under a traditional left-wing.
So how does it feel to be banned?
What were the priorities when he grew government? When you spend $7 trillion on the war in Iraq,
I think Owen has officially gone crazy.
That's not a left-wing priority. It was the left who was standing. It was Bernie Sanders who voted against the war.
All right, I'm going to bring in Lauren here. So we were talking before this panel about the incentives involved in having an online TV show. And I personally struggle with the incentives on social media generally, including YouTube, because the most inflammatory rhetoric gets the most views, the most retweets, the most, followers. And so I'm curious from your perspective, having, run a very successful online show, how do you have a constructive conversation when the incentives seem to be pushing you in the opposite direction?
Well, that is something that I'm always struggling with, and it actually came up about in our fake news panel yesterday. Someone asked one of the journalists that was there, why aren't we talking more about the big issues here, places where there's genocide and starvation? Why are these fake news headlines getting so much attention? And she gave the very frank answer, that's what people are attracted to, and it doesn't matter whether we publish the other stories or not. It's not what's getting shared, and as an independent creator, you're very aware of that fact. We can spend weeks researching a video about something like political philosophy or the public school system, and it'll get a fraction of the views that some wrecked feminist ownage video will get, and it's kind of frustrating. But at the same time, I'm trying to look at it in the way that at least people are getting involved in these issues, and my hope is if they see something that's maybe a little bit sensationalized and radicalized, not that I agree with doing anything purposefully provocative just to upset people, but maybe then they'll stick around for a little bit of the deeper conversation. Maybe then they'll start to realize, all right, well, why is that happening? And hopefully at the very least it can lead to a deeper conversation. It's not going to be everybody. Some people just like the outrage machine, but there are a lot of people who are going to stick around maybe for the deeper conversation.
Right. And Michael, you have an online show as well.
Because he's
say
the
more
devil.
about the incentives that you've seen from your experience.
Well, what I find is that people reward authenticity. Audiences reward authenticity. You cannot pretend to be something you're not. Audiences are not going to turn up. And that's why I hate to break up our kumbaya feelings here.
Here we go.
Right here.
love
the polarization. I love it. I love the partisanship. I spent a long time researching a book that I wrote called Reasons to Vote for Democrats.
It's quite thorough, by the way.
Very thorough book. I love it. I want a choice, not an echo. I don't want mealy-mouthed kumbaya. I don't want any of that. I want to know when I'm voting who I'm voting for. In the 1930s and 40s, one of the major complaints of political scientists was that the parties were indistinguishable. You had, on issues, anything ranging from life to taxes to death, whatever. People having unclear points of view. Now I know on all of those issues, on the size of government, on the role of government, on socialism, on life, on marriage, on death, on everything, I know where the parties stand. That's the country that I want to live in. It gives me a choice, not an echo. The conservative movement was founded in this. How do we get along? I have a simple answer. We win and you lose. And that might seem a little harsh. That might seem a little harsh. But there is no, to quote Ronald Reagan, Saint Gipper, there is no choice between freedom and slavery. These are not morally equivalent. When one party has elected leaders saying that we should go to Republicans' homes where their children sleep, we should physically mob around them, though there is not a moral equivalence to some harsh rhetoric from little old me on my internet show. Those are not the same thing. I'm glad that there is a difference now, and that is my, maybe that'll be the sequel to my bestseller. All of the reasons to vote for Democrats Part 2. We win, you lose.
So I want to just pick up on that real fast.
Okay, so
I like it. Well, just 1 second. So hold on. I think it's in a democracy we need choices.
Yes,
that's right. And
pro-choice, you might say.
Well said.
What is it? 1501. I just paused it because I've got to figure out why VLC won't stream. Because that's how I was getting it going before and it ran smooth. Because this is ridiculous. So give me a second. VLC, why will you not stream a network stream? Copy video URL. Media. Network stream. Okay.
Hello, Politicon. How are we feeling today? All right, so
I'll go like 14.
we need choices.
Yes,
that's right.
Hang on a sec.
Night.
Hello.
Yep. Yep.
This would be the
America.
America. Yeah, so this will just be the text chat, and hopefully we can get this going without too much grief. Except that doesn't show the whole thing because I've got the settings all wrong. That's okay. Your mic stinks. Your mic stinks, Mike. Hang on. 2 seconds. I'll get it going.
Pants mics.
Pants Mike sucks balls. Like big, hairy, fat balls. I don't know any other way to describe it. His mic is just awful. I'm sorry, Pants, but it is, and I can't.
I want to mail him the yellow
$15
jacket.
Just to improve the stream, $15 and I can get him like my mic. How does my mic sound? Is it good? I'll
No.
What? It's not.
No.
What's wrong with it? Is it too low?
I don't know.
Too loud?
It's definitely not crisp.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds good. The audio from the audio from the the audio from the video sounds great, but you don't. I don't know why.
The audio from the video.
Maybe you're too close. Maybe you're too close to it, or maybe you're too loud.
No, I think it could be. It could be a bunch of things. I'll try. So the audio on the video sounds alright. Is that what you're saying? But like the audio, my audio, or the audio, because I've got to figure these things out. Because
I can hear the YouTube video playing through your microphone, and it sounds great. Why?
So I'll turn my volume down through Discord.
No, that's not the problem.
Right.
So the YouTube video is playing through your speakers into your microphone into my speakers.
No, it's not.
And it sounds.
It's not playing through the speaker. The YouTube video is just capturing the desktop audio, right? So that's why that's got nothing to do with the.
Got you.
So that's why that's so clear, because it's just literally giving you the audio that's running on the desktop. So for some reason my microphone is awful at the moment, and I don't know why, because it's almost a brand new microphone, and
you get a snowball.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I'm doing a mic. At the moment, it seems to be cutting in and out. Yeah, I'll stop that. Hang on.
What'd you do?
Hang on. That's better. Why is it? Okay, maybe I'll have to push to talk or something. Output. Built in. I'll try this one. Hello? 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 Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yep.
How's that?
Yeah, you sound good. Yep.
Yeah, I just changed the microphone that it was using. How's the volume, alright?
Yep. Go ahead and play the video.
Yeah, I'm trying to set it up. I need to change.
I'm telling you, I'm hearing the sound through Discord.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how I'm listening.
Yeah, no, it's not that. I've got to bring, because I'm using a different. I'm using BLC instead. So that'll pop up in a second, and then there's probably going to be a slight delay, so you can react to things first, and then whatever, you know.
Now you're cutting out a bunch. Maybe your sensitivity wasn't good.
Transform.
The Discord sensitivity.
Yeah, I'm not too. To be honest, I'm not too worried about that. Properties. Default. This one. Okay. How do I? Okay. So I want to do push to talk on the mic. Whoa. Ah, I was just showing everyone my settings.
Whatever microphone.
Choice, you might say.
There you go.
What's that guy?
Well said. But I think the issue that we're trying to pick up on here is not that having diverse views is bad, but a zero-sum politics in which one side wins at the expense of the other side, and that's the only way that we frame issues that has a destructive effect.
How could one side win
I was
not at the
listening
expense
to
of
the
the
video
other side?
through
On the
your
question of life,
microphone.
we've been talking about Roe versus Wade a lot because of the nomination of Brett Kavanaugh.
No, it's desktop audio.
One side win without the other side lose. You're talking
Well, I
about
can't
protecting
hear
the life of
it
an unborn
anymore.
baby or snuffing out the life of an unborn baby. I don't see a compromise. I don't see a conciliation on that issue.
No, I agree that the question of life is probably you
through your headset.
But I mean,
that's hard to bridge.
No, it's a bullshit talking point because of the fact that what we're doing is we're finding these hyper sensationalized metrics by
you should be able to hear it, but no problem.
But what we're talking about is how do we improve individuals' lives? And yes, you're going to have individuals like Tim Kaine, for example,
Hang on.
who abides by his belief.
Turn on push to talk.
Or someone push to talk. Well, turn on push to talk, did you say, or off?
No, well, I don't know what you did, but now I can't hear.
No. It's running through VLC, and you should be able to. Are you watching the stream, or are you watching the...
I'm watching the stream on mute and listening to the stream through your microphone.
Yeah, you can't really do that, though. Well, you can, but...
I've been doing it through the last 2 videos.
No, you know why? Because... Hang on, that's weird.
Because it'll throw off the timing otherwise. I was listening perfectly fine.
Okay, so you want me to... How come... Alright, let's do that. We'll go back to the Discord one. Let's do that. But that's just annoying, though, because if you want to do a good quality one, I can't really do it that way. Like, it's going to be all jumpy and stuff. And that's going to turn... it's not going to be good. But anyway, that's alright. Ah! That's all, freezy. I've got to get a bit of rig than this. This is ridiculous. Alright. So we'll go back to this one. Here we go.
But I think the issue that we're trying to pick up on here is not that having diverse views is bad, but a zero-sum politics in which one side wins at the expense of the other side, and that's the only way that we frame issues.
I don't know what you did, what you changed, but I can't hear it.
Not at the expense of the other.
No, because it was... Okay, hang on. 2 seconds.
On the raising of your speaker, one side win without the other side lose. You're talking about protecting the life of an unborn baby or snuffing out the life of an unborn baby. I don't see a compromise there. I don't see a conciliation on that issue.
I agree that the question of life is probably you've specifically chosen.
You need to leave your microphone on the whole time.
No, it's a bullshit talking point because of the fact that what we're doing is we're finding these hyper-sensationalized metrics by which to measure how we vote for people. But what we're talking about is how do we improve individuals' lives? And yes, you're going to have individuals like Tim Kaine, for example, who abides by his belief, who is very, very much pro-life, who is a Democrat, but he votes in a manner that's reflective of Virginia.
Did you just say that Tim Kaine is pro-life?
Tim Kaine is pro-life.
No, Tim Kaine supports legal abortion.
First of all, that's what that's literally what I just said. I said, but he votes his constituency in Virginia. But what I'm trying to do is move the conversation beyond this conversation of life, because that's where we get bogged down.
Exactly.
But let's actually.
I don't know what you did. Like the last stream we did, I could hear the audio the entire time, no choppiness. So whatever you did the first stream, perfect. Yeah, voice activity and make it real sensitive.
My only point to you is that, listen, we can talk about, if we want to just sit here and we want to have a discussion that goes nowhere, we can talk about issues of life where we probably will disagree. We can talk about issues of race where we probably will disagree. But let's actually talk about something substantive that we can probably find common ground on, like how do we make sure that people have health care in this country? How do we make sure that kids get properly educated in this country? Because what I will not do is waste time on discussions that people just we continue to have these same discussions and sensationalize it so people get clicks. This is not a click.
That's right.
I'm glad to know that you guys are against the death penalty. I just want to say that. You're so pro-life, so you're against the death penalty.
I'm against the death penalty.
I love the death penalty.
So you're not pro-life.
I'm with blessed.
So you're not pro-life. So you're not pro-life.
I love the death.
So you're not pro-life.
No, I'm pro-life.
No, but
I think the
he just did it.
Okay, I'm going to put Charlie.
Good on you for being principled.
Hold on, I'm going to get Charlie.
I'm pro-life, and I'm also pro-due process, which unfortunately one political party in this country has abandoned.
So then you're against Guantanamo Bay. So then you're against Guantanamo Bay.
But let's just cut through the talking points, because
if you're for due process, you're against Gitmo.
Guys.
If you're for due process, you're against Guantanamo Bay.
No, I'm for due process for American citizens. I'm not for due process for terrorists who fight in violation of the Geneva.
All right, guys, I'm going to step in here.
Undermining the Geneva Convention protections themselves.
I'm going to step in here.
This is going to be easy if he keeps walking right into the trap like that.
So he's going to step in there because that guy lost hands down, and he's got to protect his leftist mate, even though he's non-partisan, supposedly.
This is a major change, Charlie. I'm being the arbiter. You know how Cory Booker had his Spartacus?
I'm being the non-partisan arbiter.
Go ahead and put the volume all the way up on the video.
I want to go back to the car here because I think.
I thought you wanted to jump in. We didn't want to mansplain everything to you.
But just even with the issue of abortion,
put the volume all the way up
on
YouTube.
Issues, it is very easy to see it as black and white. But even that whole dichotomy we have of pro-life versus pro-choice, that doesn't even fully encapsulate the range of political views that people believe.
Exactly.
Right? And there are so many things when it comes to specifically abortion that we can talk about. We can talk about how do we make sure that if people want to have adoption, that is easy and available for them? How do we make sure that people are aware of different contraceptive methods so we don't have the unplanned pregnancies in the first place?
Exactly.
We either kill all the babies or no one has, that's just, I don't think that's a very constructive way to look at the situation. And I mean, abortion, if there ever is one, people would think it's black and white, but it's really not.
So, can I get in here? So Bakari, I'm going to do this as respectfully as possible, because if I didn't do this, I would regret it.
Preparing for this moment. Go. Let's go.
Can you tell by the shoes?
I don't even know what those are.
You don't know what those are?
Charlie, the shoes are irrelevant.
These are Yeezys.
Oh, excuse me.
Kanye West design.
Guys, no, we're not going
I have
down
to do
that road.
this. On cable news, you said when Kanye West entered the Oval Office, this is what happens when black people don't read. Do you regret?
That's not what I said.
What did you say?
Well, let's actually, if we want to go back and actually...
No, I mean, the tape said this is what happens when black people don't read.
That's not what I said.
What did you say?
I actually said that this is a discussion, and my major issue with Kanye West is that he attempts to make anti-intellectualism cool. And what I said is
You
that
said this is what happens when black people
That's not what I said.
That's what the transcript
actually I said.
Charlie, please.
Charlie, you asked me a question, so I will answer.
I said you regret it.
So, no, I don't regret anything, Charlie. So this is the point.
So you said it.
That's not what I said. If you want to know what I said, I'm attempting to tell you. I said that I have a problem with Kanye West because he attempts to make anti-intellectualism cool. I said there are many people who want to talk about criminal justice reform who will not send Kanye West to the White House to do that. I said Kanye West is what happens when Negroes don't read. You know what that is? That is a fact.
Oh, so wait, so you did say it.
I said Kanye West is what happened when Negroes don't read.
That's
Correct.
what I just said.
No, that's not what you just said.
You think he's a genius?
Wait,
no, but time out. But time out.
He's a genius,
Kanye? Time out. What is Kanye West, and I don't even know why we're here.
Because you said we need to have conversations about civility, and you go on cable news and say that a 7-time Grammy winner, multi-billionaire, courageous man going to the Oval Office is what happens when people don't read.
That's not what
You are a hypocrite. Don't tell me you're here to have a conversation.
Do you think Kanye's a genius?
All right, so what we're going to do here is...
Uh-huh. Yeah. But they call Kanye that.
give me that for a second.
Charlie.
But
Bakari's
okay,
going to have a response.
Because you're trying to be this big reconciliation. We all got to go along. Then you go on CNN and you bash a successful man that has the courage to wear a Make America Great Again hat. You deserve to be called out for that.
Okay.
All right.
So I'm going to come in here. So Bakari will have a response, and then we're going to move to another topic.
So personally, I love when we feign indignation. That's like the cutest thing ever. But on a much more specific note. First of all, it's factually accurate because Kanye West is literally a quoted non-reader. He doesn't believe in reading, okay? So that bothers me. But if we're going to have a conversation about criminal justice reform, I actually want somebody who is articulate on the issue of making sure that we ban for-profit prisons. I want somebody who wants to end the prohibition on marijuana. I want somebody who's going to actually go and talk about putting rehab and social programs in prisons so when people get out, we don't have high rates of recidivism. I want somebody who can actually talk about issues that are near and dear to my heart. And so while we want to feign this and say, oh my God, you said black people can't read, what I did was I directly quoted Chris Rock making a point about anti-intellectualism because I'm sick and tired of individuals who want to get in this discussion but do not have.
It was not a direct quote of Chris Rock. I don't even remember. I mean, this video is old that we're watching. This one, which is like 100 in internet years. Did you watch Owen talking about Chris Rock? I can't remember how long ago that was. Probably a year. Oh, his new thing is pathetic.
Have the depth to have it. You can have Kanye West. You can have Kanye West, and you can trot him out. You can trot him out with the Make America Great hat on. But I don't stand on the shoulders of Kanye West, Charlie Kirk.
Okay, all right,
I stand. No. Let me finish. I stand on the shoulders of Walter Scott, of Trayvon Martin, of Keith Lamont Scott. I stand on the shoulders of all these people who were killed. Of all these people.
Thomas Sowell, or
of all these
Condoleezza
people,
Rice, or
of
Dr.
all
Ben
of these
Carson,
people, of
War
all
criminals
of these,
like Condoleezza?
One person,
Dr. Ben
guys,
Carson,
of all of these individuals.
Yeah.
Individuals who were killed while unarmed, being African American, Sandra Bland, the list goes on and on again. So it's cool if you want to be indignant, right? It's cool if you want to have I got Bakari Sellers because, oh my God, he said Kanye West is what happens when Negroes don't read. I stand on that today and I'll stand on it tomorrow because
okay,
I'm a man of conviction.
I'm glad we cleared that up.
All right.
Can I say something?
No. Lawrence can come in.
Is Kanye a genius?
Yes, guys.
Being a multi-billionaire and a 7-time Grammy winner is a form of genius.
Charlie.
Harris Hilton is rich. That doesn't make you a genius.
Guys.
There are many different forms of genius.
Guys,
I would love to see you
real quick.
multi-billion-dollar status, win multiple Grammys.
Charlie, this is the
cultural
incentive
clout.
in our politics that's destructive. You guys are trying to get a Twitter moment right now, and that's not helpful.
I don't want that. Exactly.
I am so sick of people saying they want kumbaya moments, and then you go on cable television and say someone like Kanye West, what happens when people don't read.
I just explained it.
I think
no, I know, but that's directed to the moderator. I'm happy to address Bakari with what he said.
I think
Lauren wanted to.
Let's allow other people to get in.
I think you bring up some really good points, and unfortunately, we are living in a society that is celebrity obsessed, and people like Kanye West are who we are turning to for political ideas. It's not great, but here we are. He is someone who is obviously not some sort of political mastermind or philosopher king, but at the end of the day, at least he is trying to raise awareness about issues like prison reform. I would love it if it was someone else besides Kim Kardashian who was advocating for getting someone released who was in like life prison for a non-violent
But that's not. But my only point is that I appreciate that effort, right? I appreciate the effort of Kim Kardashian going and getting one person out. I appreciate Kanye West being able to say the word prison reform. That's not what I'm talking about, though. I'm talking about being able to go to the White House and represent people who look like me, okay?
Well,
and not only that, but speak to the.
Black people.
But no. But I wish that was the case. Like I wish it was the case that Kanye West could go and sit in the Oval Office and have a 15-minute rambling dialogue with the President of the United States and just speak for himself. That's not the point. He does not. He speaks for so many people who look like me, who are brown, who are black, who are persecuted, who are put upon. And so when we have that moment where somebody goes out there and embarrasses us,
But is that Kanye's West's fault that everyone else wants to play into identity politics and say that one black man speaks for all of you? He's never claimed to speak for anyone but himself.
And you know what? I appreciate that. I wholeheartedly appreciate that. However, that rhetoric it doesn't meet the test of reality. That's my only point. And listen, if you want to have a conversation, if Donald Trump wants to have a conversation about criminal justice reform, he can go out and talk to Michelle Alexander. He can talk to Jordan Edwards' mother, or Lucy McBath. He can talk to Sandra Bland's parents. He can talk to people who actually went through this. But pardoning one individual or granting clemency, to be accurate, to one individual is not reform. And all I'm simply saying is, if you want to trot Kanye West out, fine. If you want to wear Yeezys, fine. But my only point is, do not sit here and tell me you're dope and you're hype and you can do everything on criminal justice reform because you tout Kanye West.
Okay, I want to bring in Michael here because criminal justice reform is an interesting area of left-right alignment right now. You've seen the Koch brothers, for example, get very active in trying to Rand Paul to try and reduce the prison population and reduce mandatory minimum sentences. Grover Norquist is very much involved in this. So, Michael, I want to get your response to that. Do you agree with some of those voices like Norquist and the Koch brothers who want to reduce the huge budget line item that some of our corrections facilities have created?
I think we should put more criminals in prison. I see no reason
So you disagree with them?
Yeah, I mean, I like Grover Norquist and I like the Koch brothers, but there was this wonderful headline in the New York Times a number of years ago by Fox Butterfield. It said, prisons keep filling despite the crime rate falling, as though there weren't some correlation between putting criminals in prison and the crime rate falling down. Are there certain instances where there's abuse? Absolutely. Should we reform that? Absolutely. I am all for putting criminals in prison. There are a lot of talking points on this issue. I think a lot of them are frivolous, particularly when it comes to the war on drugs. So I'm happy to talk about it, but probably that will lead us nowhere. On the question of is this country too harsh on its criminals or not, I think we're not harsh enough. I want a nice, safe country, and this has been a big win for President Trump. You know, we're talking about bridging divides and bringing people together on certain issues. When you, Bakari, talk about Kanye West not representing people who have your skin color, certainly you've seen the polls that show that President Trump's support among black voters and Hispanic voters has surged over the last year, more than doubled among black voters. Why is that? Because clearly people are feeling more represented by this administration. People are coming together, and I think what you're seeing right now with the hysteria, with the attacking Republicans in restaurants, is the last gasps of people who thought that it was theirs. They deserved power. Democrats deserved it. Hillary Clinton deserved to win the election, and it was wrongly taken away from her. I think it's absurd, and I'm very pleased that we're speaking frankly, because on the question of criminal justice reform, more broadly, when President Trump speaks about law and order, speaks about people not crossing our border illegally, using our resources illegally, deporting criminals who are in violation of the law, his poll numbers shoot through the roof, even among Democrats. Even Democrats don't want blanket amnesty. I think law and order is a big winner. I think our country's better off for it, and we should keep running on it. Bring everybody together.
If you actually care deeply about law and order, then I'd like for you to call for the breakup of the U.S.-Saudi alliance, because we keep giving them, we gave them over $100 billion in weapons, and they're using it to genocide kids in Yemen and kill journalists.
Charlie agrees on that.
If you agree, great. I'm happy.
Unbelievably vocal about how Saudi Arabia is the #1
wonderful
terrorism.
Wonderful. And also, I want.
Yeah. Oh, I'm still here. Oh, okay.
The thing uses an insane amount of processor speed. Processor power. Shut that door. Oh, come on. Discord, come on. Go to settings. Are you there?
Yeah.
Got me? Right. I'm going to try mucking around with some stuff because I changed some settings before, and ever since I did, chat, stream appearance. No. Linux settings. Minimize the tray. No, I don't want to do that. Yeah, whatever. Connections. It was text and images. So what I did was display images, videos, and yep. When uploaded to Discord. Now I want to keyboard scan activity. Where's the video? Text and images. Where's the settings for the size of the text and all that? Because I was able to, I adjusted all that before. I want to adjust it back. Stream. Do you know what that is? Is it appearance? I think it's appearance. So I'll change it to. I had this way up, so zoom level as well. I'll just turn this way down. Oh no, hang on. Jesus. Excuse me, Lord. No, that's too. That's like. I'll go to 90. Keep that moving. Okay, try that. There, that's running smoother. Whoa. Go back up here.
Hello, Politicon. How are we feeling today?
We're about halfway through.
Trump speaks about law and order, speaks about people not crossing our border illegally, using our resources illegally, deporting criminals who are in violation of the law. His poll numbers shoot through the roof, even among Democrats. Even Democrats don't want blanket amnesty. I think law and order is a big winner. I think our country's better off for it, and we should keep running on it. Bring everybody together.
If you actually care deeply about law and order,
he said go ahead, just like
I'd like for you to call for the breakup of the U.S.-Saudi alliance, because we keep giving them, we gave them over $100 billion in weapons, and they're using it to genocide kids in Yemen and kill journalists.
Charlie agrees on that.
If you agree, great. I'm happy.
Unbelievably vocal about how Saudi Arabia is the #1
wonderful
terrorism.
Wonderful. And also, I want to agree with you on another point. You said we should put more criminals in jail. I agree that the fraudsters on Wall Street should all be in jail.
Yeah, okay. I'm not. Just to respond to that bit, I'm not opposed to putting criminals behind bars, even if they work on Wall Street. I have no look. Wall Street often votes Democrat, so I've got no political allegiance to them as it is. As for the Saudi alliance, though, I find this to be a huge distraction from the Democrats. You're alluding, I suppose, to the extrajudicial killing of Jamal Khashoggi by the Saudi government. Jamal Khashoggi was a radical Islamist. One of his main criticisms of Saudi Arabia was
can we just stop that? I mean, can the man rest in peace?
Law and order, unless he's a bad person.
This is why the title.
Let me finish.
I'm not,
That's funny.
because this is
See,
why the title.
they bring something up and then they don't want to talk about it. You like that?
Behind bars, even if they work on Wall Street. I have no look. Wall Street often votes Democrats, so I've got no political allegiance to them as it is. As for the Saudi alliance, though, I find this to be a huge distraction from the Democrats. You're alluding, I suppose, to the extrajudicial killing of Jamal Khashoggi by the Saudi government. Jamal Khashoggi was a radical Islamist. One of his main criticisms of Saudi Arabia was
can we just stop that? I mean, can the man rest in peace?
Law and order, unless he's a bad person.
This is why the title.
Let me finish.
I'm not, because this is why the title.
Well, I'm going to finish my point.
This is why the title of this panel is what it is.
Jamal Khashoggi was a radical Islamist from the 1980s who was good friends with Osama bin Laden.
I remember that.
Who wept when bin Laden died. One of his main criticisms of the Saudi government is that the Saudi government is too pro-Israel.
But I'm not
going to work with Israel. He's not a United States citizen.
I think
a lot of governments do a lot of bad things.
This is why
in particular are we focusing on this? It's because the Democrats can't find any issue to run on in the midterm election.
Remember when you said you believed in due process like 5.5 minutes ago, and now you're cool with the killing of a journalist?
But I mean, I think that. But first of all, I think that.
Not you, him.
So when we get to the point where we have these like really bullshit, sensationalized talking points, we begin to lose people, right? And people clap and they chant and they scream. And this gentleman was a Washington Post editorial reporter, and if you want to talk about something he did in the 80s, so be it.
I want to talk about his views on Hamas.
That's fine. You can try to talk over me. That's fine. But my only point is that like he was killed in an extrajudicial killing in a consulate. I mean, let's at least allow him to rest and allow an investigation to happen.
I didn't bring it up.
But I think that, and I think my only point in stopping you and saying that we have to cut this bullshit out is because the audience and people deserve better dialogue than that, right?
I think it's pretty good dialogue, and it was brought up by
you guys. It's a sensationalized talking point when we can actually be talking about issues that maybe when we leave this room, somebody will say, oh, I'm thinking differently about this, other than simply saying that, oh my God, this was a Muslim sympathizer who just got killed.
An Islamist sympathizer. I want to point out, though, I didn't bring up the topic. My friend over here brought up the topic, and I'm happy to answer it. And this happens all the time. On the left, he talked about the U.S.-Saudi alliance. On the left, this always happens. The left brings up a talking point as an attack on the right. The right responds, and then they say, whoa,
it's not an attack. Charlie agreed with me.
Okay. And nobody's attacking. I'm not attacking anybody.
Can I get in on the Saudi debate? This is something where Michael and I might have some disagreement.
We only disagree on like 3 things.
This might be one of them. I think Saudi Arabia is one of the great enemies of the West and of America. I'm sick and tired of appeasing them.
Yes.
15 out of 19 of the hijackers were Saudi Arabian. We should not be transacting hundreds of billions of dollars in arms sales to fund their unethical war, probably illegal war in Yemen.
Yes.
So here's where Michael and I will agree, and you might disagree. They're also the #1 funder of madrasas across the world, which is hotbed centers of radical Islam and terror cells. They end up being ISIS terrorists. And so I think the U.S.-Saudi relationship has gone way out of bounds, and they never paid a price for what they did at 9/11.
Yeah,
ever.
I agree with that.
They never paid a price for the worst terrorist attack, probably the worst domestic attack since 9/11, since Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
On American soil in the last 100 years. So this is something we could agree on.
Totally agree.
And Khashoggi, I would actually agree with Michael that there's probably a little more coverage on this than would be usual. That's despite the point. But I think it's highlighting a broader context of how Saudi Arabia has been lying to us. We've been funding them. We've been giving them arms. We've allowed them to do whatever they want. And we have yet to fully allow the 9/11 victims' families to sue the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Saudi Arabia, bankrupt that country, and make them pay those families for what they did on 9/11.
All right.
That's my stand.
Very good point.
We're going to move to
slightly different line of questioning here. You know, we're here talking about some of the headlines.
You gonna put your head
the
over
fact
his
is
face?
still, if you go beneath the headlines, we live in a very broken political system. And I want to get to some of those incentives primarily because we don't give them enough airtime, to be honest. It's often not as sexy. I think it's very important. And so actually, I do want to bring in Bakari for a second because you worked on the Obama campaign in 2008. And I think the last time there was an interest in trying to transcend a divide was that campaign. And Obama's famous words in 2004 was that there's not a liberal America, there's not a conservative America, there's a United States of America. And then at the end of his presidency, Vice News did this great documentary called A House Divided. And they asked him, well, what happened to that? And he said, well, that didn't work out so well, did it? And I'm thinking, wait, hold on. That was kind of the premise of why, you know, why he ran and why he got elected. So I don't want to talk so much about like, oh, Republicans were obstructionists in Congress or Obama did this or not that. I want to get one layer deeper there and ask, you know, what are the process issues that caused that mission to fail so spectacularly during his presidency?
Well, I mean, I think that even from our discussion yesterday amongst my friends on the left, we have a tension about those policies and issues. And so it's pretty good if we don't maybe get caught up there, but delve to where you want to go. I began this earlier today by saying that in this country we've made a lot of progress, but we still have yet a ways to go. And one of the issues that I give Donald Trump credit for in somewhat of a backhanded way, that we are now actually having a discussion about robustly is the issue of race. It's an issue in this country that we've never dealt with. It's one that we've never truly had any substantive conversation about. And people think that we are very far removed. I remind people often, you know, my father was shot by South Carolina state troopers in February 8th, 1968, protesting a bowling alley. They denied his bond and housed him on death row. My sister was born without her father. My family, we had to literally live on welfare for a period of time because of the simple fact that my father had a felony on his record simply from being an activist, right? But this isn't something that happened in history books 100 years ago. This is one generation. And so I think a lot of the reaction that we had, Ta-Nehisi Coates wrote a great piece in The Atlantic called The First White President, and talking about Donald Trump and the angst that many people in this country have. And so I think that we are dealing with a reconciliation that I believe in 2042, correct me if I'm wrong, but 2042, when this will be a majority-minority country. And what we're dealing with now, a lot of what we're dealing with is the browning of America. And we're going to have some uncomfortability, and people are going to have issues. And I think a lot of that played out during the presidency of Barack Obama, but even more is playing out now. If Hillary Clinton was president, we wouldn't be having conversations like this. But because Donald Trump is, we're having these very profound discussions. And so that's a part of the reason that I believe we had those hiccups.
Are you giving me a gal?
All right, we have some questions here. We won't have time to get to everyone, but we hope to get a few.
All right.
And can I just say one more thing? There needs to be a question mark at the end of the question. And please keep it relatively quick so we can get to as many people as possible.
So this question's mainly for Charlie and Kyle. How would you guys feel about the Libertarian Party and the Green Party sort of pooling their resources?
Want me to go? Okay, so I think it depends on the issue in question, because there are areas where you're going to find agreement between Greens and Libertarians. Like when we were talking about foreign policy and the drug war, there's total agreement there. So my whole thing has been, and that's, you know, the whole point of this panel is how will we get along? My answer to that is very simple. When we do agree, we do get along, and we can work together on those issues, and I have no problem doing that. But where we don't agree, let's argue, let's debate, let's have that disagreement, and that's what democracy is. And sometimes it's messy, and we're going to be at each other's throats, metaphorically.
I just
and
had a
other
nice
times,
drunken conversation
you know,
with
great, and we
Sergeant.
can agree like we just did on Saudi Arabia. So I think
I knew he was gonna get hammered. I knew once he got banned, he was gonna get hammered. He was probably actually already buzzed when he got banned.
When you have areas of disagreement, okay, just debate, and that's that, and may the best argument win.
It's hilarious. He's making faces on him.
Hold on, let me see the screen.
And me being more of a civil libertarian, I wouldn't suggest the Green Party and Libertarian Party
It's in the
they would disagree.
No,
on,
not totally, of course.
No,
not,
they would disagree on a lot of things.
Yeah, at least half the stuff.
But I would say that and I'm libertarian on a lot of issues, traditionally conservative on other ones, but the best thing that's happened in the last 8 years is seeing libertarians finally admit that this Libertarian Party idea has to be within the Republican Party. You see Rand Paul, you see Thomas Massie, Justin Amash, and you see conversations at even the top level where Republican leadership are talking more like libertarians on issues, which is a great thing. Talking about disdain for government power and even government overreach, all those sorts of things are very positive developments, and that's happened since the Tea Party movement. But again, I think that there's things that we can agree on, and obviously things we'll fundamentally disagree on. And civil libertarian issues, I think, is a good starting point.
It is, definitely. All right, next question.
Ooh. Hi, I asked a similar question to Ann Coulter, and I wanted to get your take, Charlie. When we see numbers like Democratic senators representing 35 million more Americans,
you gotta shrink your head.
In the House, Democrat.
You should be that guy. Be that guy.
Oh, the bank run is on right now, live.
Republicans have 33 more seats.
Another live stream.
3 million more people voted for Hillary.
The yellow vests are all withdrawing their money out of the bank.
You seem to agree that districting shouldn't be politicized. Can we count on you and other conservatives to reform a system that supports them?
So yes, but I'll take a little exception with what you said first.
Your head actually fits really well on that body.
The premise of what you said though is operating under the idea that we are a democracy. We are not a democracy.
Have you ever felt like you identify as a morbidly obese black guy?
We use a democratic process to put our representatives in power. And there's a big difference.
Because you looked very natural
as warned in the
with your head on that body.
Would have lended itself to the tyranny of the majority. Decentralization of power and states' rights is essential to a republic. Remember, the states created the federal government did not create the states. And so the diffusion of power to give states such as Wyoming and Montana, North and South Dakota, representation is critical. Now, it works for both parties, too. Remember, it's Democrats that get electoral votes from Hawaii
any women on there, you should put your head on
so
there.
it's not a purely partisan thing. The final thing to say is this. I think it's very dangerous you go to, for example, a direct national vote, because you'll see candidates do nothing, go from cities like Miami to Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, and concentrate on heavily urban issues and forget middle of America, which is essentially everywhere between Manhattan and Malibu.
So we have our first disagreement. We're a constitutional republic, but we're also literally a representative democracy. So obviously democracy is a very important part of our system. And I think we should absolutely abolish the Electoral College, because you have to do mental gymnastics to come to the conclusion that, you know, the people that should be in power are the ones who got fewer votes.
You said that Kyle isn't bad, right?
Anything that would argue on the opposite side of that is honestly laughable.
I actually disagree with you, but
well, it's because the whole idea.
I was like, actually,
it's fine.
Being from South Carolina, I think the Electoral College is like dope, right? Because why else would you not? Well, I mean, what candidate would come campaign in South Carolina?
Exactly.
If all you had to do was go to New York and LA.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, the
and
way.
Not only that, but I'm so sorry. One last quick point, because a lot of my friends on the left after this election that Hillary won in the popular vote, however you want to couch it. I'm like, the Electoral College, first of all, you can't name a better system, one. And two, we were just championing it in 2008 when it elected a skinny black guy with a funny name. So, like, I'm
sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No,
I was just going to say, it's a matter of principle, in my opinion, that I actually think, I'd go beyond that. I would actually say, in this country, on the top, most important 5 or 10 issues, I think every year our entire country should go to the polls and vote on the 5 or 10 most important issues. So, for example, if one of those was ending the Iraq War, I think this country would be in a much better position if people got to directly vote on should we legalize marijuana, should we end the Iraq War.
But stuff like marijuana, you are able to directly vote for your state legislature, and that is like essentially direct democracy. There's no like electoral college for your state legislature where a lot of things like drugs are related to, as they should be to the states. But the bigger idea, and this is coming from a Canadian, is that it's states who elect the president, not individual people. So I think the whole balance with the states being semi-sovereign.
She's Canadian. Where did they cut off the extra? Where's the scar from when they cut off the extra head?
I think that is important.
So if you told me,
let's
compromise and find the middle ground, and let's have more of a direct democracy on specific issues in the individual states, I would take that agreement.
Yeah, I would.
I'd take that agreement.
Oh, there you go. That's
yes.
That's high.
So I live in New York, and we don't have many ballot referendums.
That's the way to
change
do
that
it.
in the state, though. That's what makes the laboratories.
I'm a little hesitant about the whole states' rights thing. There was a war that was fought over that. Kind of happy.
All right.
I would prefer
Yeah, you should always put your head on that one
Bring
chick.
the issues to the states, let the people vote in the
That
states.
works
Okay,
well.
next question.
Mr. Sellers, you said you don't stand on the shoulders of people who don't read.
That's not what I said, but go ahead.
I'm pretty sure it was. But then you proceeded to say that you stand on the shoulders of various blacks that have died for various reasons. Do you really believe that these blacks whose names you listed were avid readers?
Yes, Martin Luther King was an avid reader.
He didn't say Martin Luther King.
That was like a... Next question. You want me to answer, do I believe that young black men who are unarmed and killed actually read? The answer to the question is yes. Yeah. They actually read, because it's not a big deal to see a black kid read a book, so I don't want to answer the question.
Next question.
I heard you say like James Baldwin too.
That was another question.
Hey, this question's for you, Kyle.
This is for you, Kyle. Seltzer water
How's it
drinker.
going, buddy?
What's up, man? Big fan.
Thanks, man.
Okay,
Is this some Young
Turks horse shit though? Like,
I thought this was Young Turks.
No.
Young Turks horse shit because they sponsor Politicon.
oh my god, does that guy look inbred or what? Holy crap.
That last question was hilarious.
That orange hat guy looks so inbred.
I'm gonna sit on his shoulder.
Yeah, try to bite him. Like sit on his shoulder and try to like kiss his ear, kiss his neck.
Honestly, it's like one of those better questions than you. It's like Vine.
I think the only thing we can do is have conversations like we're having right now. And as you can tell, at times it was heated and we disagreed, but then at other times there were points of agreement. And, you know, one of the other points of agreement is that I said that a lot of Donald Trump's campaign rhetoric is stuff that I agreed with. Like, for example, we would bash NAFTA.
No, that's a little guy.
We need to stop doing these terrible
It's a little guy, isn't it?
And I think that...
Hey, which one?
You need to go over points of agreement now. Whereas opposed to if you're just
right here.
This is a family
against yourself on an issue, you'll say, I don't care, I agree with the Republican. That makes no sense. Democrats do it too, yes.
Gay French kissing is as far as we go.
Thank you.
Great question, Rob. Good one.
Yeah, so since this is supposed to be how do we get along, right? My question is for Curry.
Like a party without the D.
Hang on.
Sorry.
Which way? This way?
Affirmative action. What's your opinion on that?
Oh, it doesn't really work.
Because I, as a white male, applied for a job in a predominantly black neighborhood. They have stipulations. They have to hire so many black people versus minority, whatever the graphics are. Is that fair?
You know what? This,
So
you know, be really
I
good.
think we need to
If you
back
had-
up and actually just deal with facts. The number one group of individuals that benefit from affirmative action in this country are actually white women. So that's actually first, and that's the first thing that I would tell you. I think that for a long period of time, I often tell people that I can't make you dance, but
Are you talking about for you? You're talking about for you, right? Like have a background, green screen background for you.
You know, when you're talking about legacy enrollment and you're talking about higher education, you're talking about jobs. What affirmative action has done was simply allow individuals who otherwise would not have had the opportunity to compete. But
you can buy. I actually have that. I actually bought that one time. It was on sale at Amazon.
Are not blacks, are not Hispanics,
I actually have a green screen backing.
Do you think that
you can buy it on Amazon? Sometimes you can get it really cheap.
After all the great gains that affirmative action has made, that we should get rid of it. Now there are these suits against Harvard and Yale
I thought it was
discriminating
software, but
against
I
Asian
could be
students.
wrong. Like I'm not an expert on it. So I haven't used it, so I can't
When do you
say.
see that happening?
Is there a time? The answer would be probably yes. When do I see that happening? I'm not sure.
Could I, as in sort of white woman, weigh in? I
like
think
taupe.
Yeah.
Beige.
So I think the issue with affirmative action, and you know, I'm someone who I very much believe in meritocracy. But even though I don't support the idea of affirmative action, I think the people who do are addressing a real problem, which is that there is a big the lack of representation among certain groups in positions of power in higher education. I think we need to be focusing more on why that is, and I think that goes back to let's talk about public schools in neighborhoods where they just simply don't have the funds, and where the high school graduation rate is extremely low. Let's talk about trying to bring skills into these communities. Let's talk about, instead of just throwing everyone
mouth what she's saying. Like, mouth what she's saying. As she's saying it, just
problem from that issue, then the whole debate about affirmative action might not be as
you actually hit the nail on the head, because you're talking about a holistic approach.
Right.
And I think that a lot of times we piecemeal because people want to ask you, how do you feel about affirmative action? Well, affirmative action is what some people is what
just
is a
move your
remedy
mouth while she's
to a
talking.
large problem, but it's only part of that. And
Maybe
so I
women
think that
just
we
talk
have to,
like Ben
as you
Shapiro.
said, we have to look at the fact that African American kids
Through their nose?
have less access to 4-year-old kindergarten programs. They're more likely to go to school hungry. They're more likely to have
Well, Ben Shapiro,
issues.
a lot of people think he talks through his nose. I think he just mainly talks through
Everybody wants to talk about pre-existing, but preventable diseases
Right,
like
even things like prenatal nutrition is an
correct.
issue.
So I mean, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Look at that.
We're agreeing too much, man.
Can I very quick, very
no
quick.
answer. I appreciate that.
But very quick. You said affirmative action is a remedy. Well, it's also a punishment against Asian American students that do
That one
quite
guy's
well.
yellow socks
It's
are
racism
distracting
against
me.
Asian Americans. Harvard has a different. I know this might be a surprise.
Yeah, you're hitting me with something new here. So tell me, teach me.
Yeah. So the Ivy League has a different grading scale for an Asian American student versus a black student versus a white student. It is harder to get into the Ivy League schools as an Asian American student than any other race or box that you check. That is pure and simple racism
Charlie
to have
wearing
different
white
levels
socks
for different
with
races.
suit pants?
And you call it a remedy, it's a punishment against an entire portion of the American
I think
population.
Charlie
that's
Kirk
about
is wearing. Is he wearing
based on the
white
census
socks
data that's
with
about to
dress
come out,
pants?
We'll find out. That happens to be
Off
the richest
the
group in America.
Kanye
Americans are
stuff.
the richest group by race in America, and they weren't in the 1940s. Yet
I
in the
read
last 70 to 80 years, they did the 3 things you need to do to stay out of poverty in America, as the great Ben Shapiro talks about every single day. You need to graduate high school, get a job, and get married before you have kids. They've done those things over the last 60 years, and now
He's
we're
just trying to.
punishing
All
them
he was trying to
in the
do
college
was. I
admissions
mean, it was
process.
pretty
So,
obvious that all he was trying to
we need
do
to be
was sell
specific, though,
albums.
because it actually
He had an
depends
album
on
coming out.
which
He
group
wanted
of
to
Asians
stir
you're
up some
talking about, because,
controversy.
typically
So
when they
he
came
says
from
all that
lower
stuff. He doesn't.
income nations,
Have
they
you ever
stayed
seen
lower
this
income,
guy?
whereas
This
when
guy
they
like
came from
runs up
richer
on
families, so
stage,
for example, Vietnamese
like
immigrants
snatches the
were
microphone
actually,
away from white women
more poor
to
than, say,
ramble
Chinese immigrants.
insanely
So very specific
to the
to
crowd.
make a generalization like, basically they just have family
He's a
values.
wacko.
and that's why they're better.
White women kind of deserve it, though.
be richer if they got every
Let's be honest.
Okay.
White women are awful in social
For
settings.
example, immigrants
They are.
South
They're
Africa
terrible.
are considered African
Well,
American.
when you're on stage accepting an award, I think it's okay.
White liberal women, I mean.
Sure. So you have to use the
I'm talking about like normal.
But conservative women don't behave like that, so.
Asian Americans are the richest
He's a
group in America per
wacko.
race,
Like
and affirmative action
you don't trust
heavily
a wacko.
punishes this portion of the American population
My,
that has higher
microphone's
test
gonna
scores,
die,
higher
so I'm gonna have to
graduation
go.
rates, and is
Well, I think that the resolve to that
Later,
conundrum- I wasn't aware of that, but I think that
Later,
if you're talking
bastard.
about the Harvards and the Yales, and you're talking about Ivy League institutions, then the answer is not.
Oh,
to
he
throw
had
out
to go
affirmative
because
action.
his
The answer is
microphone
to
was
reform the programs,
microphone was
and maybe
dying.
equalize those grading systems. And the reasons I
His
say
microphone
that it's
his
not-
microphone is about to
the
give out.
The reasons I'm saying that you shouldn't throw out affirmative action is because there was just a recent study that came out that said that if you take an
I think he's just going because he's tired. No, I'm saying he has to. He usually will leave by like this time because he has to go to bed. So, like he's actually he was actually up a little bit later than he normally would be. Normally he goes to sleep by like 1. It's 3 o'clock my time. So he'll usually go by 1 o'clock my time. So about midnight his time. He's 1 hour difference from me. So he's 1 hour behind me. So he's been up for. Please subscribe, hit the thumbs up, like this video. Leave your comments below.
Yeah, negative and positive comments.
Yes, we like them nasty.
Dirty, nasty, nice. Nice is good.
That's true. Yeah, we could use a few verbal hugs.
It doesn't have to be nasty. You say that, but we don't really care if we don't care what you
I care. I care about you. I want all of you watching to know how much I care about each and every one of you. You're beautiful, beautiful. You are beautiful, beautiful mammals. And I love thee.
Nothing that I said ended up on the stream because I've turned the volume down on my mic, but it is now. You want to practice doing the outro? Or whatever?
What can we do for the outro?
I don't know. Takeoff, landing, something?
Ladies and gentlemen, we're approaching the runway and we're about to land this thing. So until next time, we'll see you then.